All right, we are continuing with our project roadmapping mock roadmap episode series. In this episode, this is number 2. If you haven't seen the first one, go check it out. It intros the app idea and has some really key information. This is episode 2, and we're actually talking about the marketing research. We're going to talk about the user personas and also do competitive analysis with the other apps that would be competitors with this particular app idea. It's some great information, so let's take a look. Let's talk about competitive analysis. We actually took a look at, because there's quite a few kind of closet apps and styling apps that are on the market right now. And this is a question that we bring to our clients all the time. If something similar already exists, why do you need to make yours, and what makes you different?
Right. And we hear that all the time, like, hey, we want you to make this thing. I was like, okay, I can already point to 7 of those on the App Store. What's different about yours?
Yeah. So what were some of the apps that we took a look at, Aaron?
So there was a lot of apps that were like geared around like building your wardrobe, like taking a picture of each of your items and having your wardrobe on your phone. And I think one of the things you kept bringing us back to was that this doesn't need to be a picture representation of your wardrobe. It just needs to show you what are the gaps that you have.
Yeah.
And so I think that was the real differentiator to all the fashion wardrobe apps we took a look at, like Style Book and a few others.
Yeah. Having downloaded and tried to use these apps for my purposes, I did feel like a lot of frustration with them because there was just so much work to get it all set up and taking a picture of every item or entering in every item in my closet. And even me, who doesn't have a ton of clothes, it was like, ugh, my 35, 50 items, like, I do not want to do that. That does not sound fun. And I think, they're each trying to solve the same problem of like, when I feel overwhelmed in the morning, how do I make an outfit? But they were doing it visually within the app, and the point of the capsule wardrobe was to do it visually when you're standing in front of your closet. And so with the Encapsule app, we're shifting the problem from making the wardrobe solve that problem for you to making the app solve that problem for you. So it's like shifting the burden there a little bit.
That's a good point. And I mean, that's something I felt like we really kept coming back to was, what is the burden of entry to this? And how do we lower that? Because we'd be like, oh yeah, they're going to go through the screen, they're going to create a category, and then they're going to add these things to it, and then they'll have checkboxes, and they can customize the check. And it was like, okay, that's like 12 steps. And so they just download the app, and they're not going to get through all that. So how do we kind of just make a basic, almost like wizard, to kind of get them in the door, get them using it with a super basic one, and then they've got these other things they can do after the fact, know. But it was a constant trimming of the fat, and fairly hard, because you're kind of like, well, these are really cool ideas. Yeah. But it's gonna turn a lot of people off if they have to go through all these steps.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and this is my sense, I don't know how much this is true, I'm sure there's research on it, but I do feel like people are less patient with their phones than they are like if it were a web app. They might be willing to, because you can type so much faster on, if you need to type in information or click through screens, you can do that so much faster with like an actual computer versus being like this on your phone. So it's like, if you're making a mobile app, you really have to think about how many clicks, and we've done it even like with the Overflow app, like we literally counted how many times does the user have to click to sign up for this thing. And it's really important, I think, to lower that friction.
Well, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to just say, especially because in this case, the market was pretty saturated on the App Store. Any friction, they're just going to download another of the 14 apps on the App Store. So it was something that was always top of mind for us.
Yeah.
And when I think of users using their cell phone to interact with an app, I think of them sitting on the couch, with the TV show on also. Yeah. It's a bit different than being in front of your computer where you're like, okay, this box and keyboard has my attention, as opposed to like, I'm watching TV, I'm kind of messing with this thing because it looks cool, my kid's yelling over here. Like, it's got to be pretty low friction.
Yeah, absolutely. The idea just of getting up from the couch and watching a movie and being like, oh, I'm going to pull out all the items in my closet and take a picture right now. It's like, that was like, and I don't mean to, throw shade on these apps. It's just that I personally really wanted one, and I did find that personally frustrating. Okay, so after we kind of defined this problem and really solidified how it was going to be different from the other ones, Aaron, you came up with some user personas for us so we could keep in mind who we were really targeting. So what were those personas?
Yeah, so when we were kind of thinking about who was using this, we broke it up into 3 different categories, and we used this concept of personas to kind of put a name and a face onto these different categories, something that we can reference and latch onto. So we have like our main category of Amanda, who's this mid-30s minimalist, environmentally conscious professional, and she has certain goals that are specific to her, such as like quickly deciding if a piece of clothing fits into her collection. She's about efficiency and minimalism, and then another category of user we saw was Madison, who's kind of this younger Gen Z, possibly college student, fashion interested. She's more into the browsing or creating a bunch of different collections, exploring possibilities, seeing what's trendy, that kind of thing. And then our smallest subsection was Michael, who's our age 30, efficiency-minded male, because we felt that there was, well, probably very small, like some level of maybe a man using this, or maybe a wife making a collection for her husband.
Right.
And so we kind of put down all their motivations and goals, and just that helped us define what are the goals that we need to add into the screens and the user flow.
Yeah, this is really helpful not only in the development process of when you're deciding what features you really need to build, especially when we're talking about an MVP, and we're, like Andrew keeps saying, like we are constantly paring it back to see what's the least that we can build to still have a successful project, because everything is expensive. But it's also really helpful to then, once you have the app, to turn around and put it in front of your marketing department so they know who they're targeting on the marketing side once you're ready to launch. Yeah. And a problem that we see over and over again is like, everyone can use this app. It's like, I mean, potentially, yeah, everybody wears clothes. Everybody may want to have a more efficient process for getting dressed in the morning while still feeling, proud of their appearance and ready to go out into the world. I'm sure everybody can relate to that feeling on some level, but who's actually going to download and use this app? Not everyone.
Right. Right, the saying, if you make it for everyone, it's going to be right for no one.
Exactly.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a question that we ask our clients and ourselves too. Basically, anytime we get an idea of, oh man, like we should build this product, whether it's for a client or for us, is okay. How are we going to market this? How are we going to sell this? Like, how are we actually going to monetize it?
Yeah.
And it's an unfortunate but real question that you have to ask yourself for. Unless you're just going to fund it yourself, somebody's got to pay for it.
And sometimes it feels a little cheesy to be like, oh, would Madison want this? Would Amanda want this or whatever? But it still does help to at least create an archetype in your mind of the sort of person who's interacting with your app, so you can more easily sift through those decisions, because there's so many that you have to make through the process.
I think one of the other benefits too is like, after we create the MVP, and maybe it's months down the road, you want to add new features, you can hand this to a designer and they can get up to speed really quickly for adding, a new feature, or developers.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us on this episode of our mock project roadmap series about the Encapsule app. I hope you got a lot of valuable information about our discussion on user personas and marketing research and figuring out how your app is going to fit in the market. For the next episode, episode 3, we're actually going to talk about user flows, wireframes, design. It's going to be fantastic, so don't miss that episode.